I would like to welcome the audience to the June 16th, 2020 Parish Planning and Zoning Board meeting. Would you all please stand while Mr. LaSalle Williams says the invocation and Pledge of Allegiance?
Dear God, we come again thanking you for allowing us to know the best days. We pray that the Holy Spirit come into our meeting tonight. We have that blessing upon the board and also this staff. We pray for those who have come seeking our help. The Holy Spirit guide us and lead us so we might do the right thing. We pray for those who suffer throughout the land, those from the lives and those from the death. Make us understand that you, God, and you still in control. Make you all from this prayer this night. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And have been allowed to be right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Crane?
Yes, sir. Before you get started, Mr. Chairman, I do want to introduce everyone to our new members that we have on our board. We're happy that they're going to serve in this important capacity. Our first member is Miss Deanne Winey. She is representing the Ward 3, less precincts 360 and 361. She takes the seat of that was previously held by Mr. Kyle Link, and we want to welcome Deanne. Thank you for being here. Would you like to speak?
Yes.
Okay.
I just would like to tell the board thank you. It's an honor to be a part of the Planning and Zoning Board. I look forward to learning from each one of you, and it will be my pleasure to serve on the board.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Our second member that we have is Mr. Carl Vincent. Mr. Vincent represents the Ward 4 area, or is one of the representatives. He takes the seat that was previously held by Mr. Gary Navarra, and we want to welcome Carl. Appreciate it. Carl, you have anything?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm happy to be here, and hopefully I can make a good contribution to the betterment of the parish.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Chairman, back to you.
Thank both our new board members. Christie, would you please call roll?
Chair Kirk Smith.
Here.
Vice Chair Julia Dickerson. Here. Ms. Latricia Cobb. Here. Mr. Keith Dubrock.
Here.
Mr. Art Little.
Here.
Ms. Sharon Felicia. Here. Ms. Janelle Hyatt. Here. Mr. Carl Vincent. Here. Mr. Jake Porche.
Here.
Ms. Deanne Whining.
Here.
And Mr. LaSalle Williams.
Yeah.
Okay. Our procedures have been adjusted to follow social distancing protocol. This is an 11-member board. It will take a majority of those members present to grant or deny any request heard tonight. The chair will refrain from voting unless the vote might affect the outcome. The meeting will be conducted with me reading the request from the agenda. The planning staff will give a presentation and report their recommendations. If the applicant would like to add to the staff's presentation, or if someone from the audience has comments, they will need to fill out a blue request to appear form located on the round table in the lobby. The form must be given to a staff member prior to the reading of the agenda item. When it is your turn to speak, you will be asked to proceed to the second floor meeting room. Please come to the microphone, state your name, address, and the nature of your request. As required by this board's bylaws, in all cases, the proponents will be limited to 10 minutes. Opponents will be granted 10 minutes as well, with each speaker allowed no more than 3 minutes. I recommend that a spokesperson be selected if there is a large group wanting to speak on the same agenda item. If 4 or more speaker request forms are submitted, the time allowed for the individual speakers will be limited based upon the number of forms submitted. The chair has the right to limit speakers who present redundant information or personal attacks. In unique situations, the chair may extend or the board may vote to extend the time allotted for speakers. After discussion, the board will vote on each request. I will announce the decision of the board after the vote. The exceptions and variances are final tonight. The rezoning case will go before the police jury for final action on June 18th, 2020 at 5:30 p.m. This meeting is being filmed by the Calcasieu Parish Government Channel and can be viewed on Wednesday and Thursday following the meeting. For additional run dates, check the website at www.cppj@calcasiewparish.gov, Channel 5 in Lake Charles, Sulphur, Moss Bluff, Westlake, Vinton, DeQuincy, and Gillis, Channel 99 in Carlos and Grand Lake. Please either turn off or silence all electronic devices. Okay. Next course of action, we will take appropriate action to approve the minutes of May 19th, 2020 Planning and Zoning meeting. I will entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Mr. Little made the motion.
Second.
Second by Ms. Hyatt. All in favor? State aye. Motion passes. Next item, take appropriate action on VAR-0520-0131, a request by Ernest E. Parker for a variance to allow dwelling with less than required lot square footage, required 43,560 square feet, requesting 19,384 square feet at 3837 Parker Road in Ward 4. I will entertain a motion for approval with conditions. Motion by Ms. Cobb, second by Ms. Hyatt. Ms. Tunn?
Mr. Chairman, just real quickly, we do have one of the cases that was withdrawn tonight, and so I don't know if you wanted to announce that prior to that, before we get into this business
Okay.
of this case here. Is that okay, Sam? I'm sorry.
No, absolutely. And you've got a motion and second, so just, if you want to remind everybody that item number 11 has been withdrawn, and we can come back to the.
Item number 11, which is case RZ-020-0159, has been withdrawn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, I appreciate it.
Now you ready for me?
Ms. Tunn?
This property's in the Sulphur area and encompasses .45 acres of agricultural zone land. The property was recently divided with less than required lot square footage. The petitioner intends to sell the property. If approved, the buyer plans to place a manufactured home on that property. Because the proposed lot is consistent with the character of the area, the staff recommends the request be granted with the following conditions: that the development adhere to the site plan on file with the Division of Planning and Development, provided that the director or designee may authorize adjustments to the site plan in light of technical or engineering considerations discovered during development, and that the manufactured home must be skirted prior to utilities being connected.
Thank you, Ms. Dunn. Any questions by the board or the staff? We have no blue cards, and I make the assumption that the applicant has no comments. There being none, all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes. Next item, take appropriate action on EX-0520-0076, a request by Jake Land Company LLC for an exception to allow commercial development, mini warehouses, at 6933 Big Lake Road in Ward 3. I will entertain a motion for approval with conditions. Motion by Ms. Cobb, second by Ms. Hyatt. Ms. Dunn?
This property is in the South Lake Charles area and encompasses approximately 1.2 acres of light commercial zone land. The applicant intends to develop a 6-unit mini warehouse storage facility. Because the proposed development is consistent with the character of the area, the staff recommends the request be granted with the following conditions: that the development adhere to the site plan on file with the Division of Planning and Development, provided that the director or designee may authorize adjustments to the site plan in light of technical or engineering considerations discovered during development, that a runoff management plan will be required unless appropriate waiver is granted by the Division of Engineering, and that permitting is subject to approval from the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development.
Thank you, Ms. Dunn. We have no blue cards. Does the staff have any, does the board have any questions for the staff? I'm assuming the applicant has no comments because we have no blue cards. That being the case, all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes. Okay. Item 8, take appropriate action on EX-0520-0078, a request by Jake Land Company LLC for an exception to allow residential development apartment at 6933 Big Lake Road in Ward 3. I will entertain a motion for approval with conditions. Motion by Ms. Cobb, second by Ms. Hyatt. Ms. Dunn?
This request goes along with the previous case for the mini warehouses. The applicant intends to convert one of the mini warehouse units into a residential dwelling that will be utilized by his child. Therefore, an exception is required to allow the residential use. Because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following conditions: that the development adhere to the site plan on file with the Division of Planning and Development, provided that the director or designee may authorize adjustments to the site plan in light of technical or engineering considerations discovered during development, and that a runoff management plan will be required unless appropriate waiver is granted by the Division of Engineering.
Thank you, Ms. Dunn. And just for informational purposes, this is the same piece
Property.
of property as was the additional agenda item.
Right.
No blue cards again. Does anyone have any question for the staff regarding this matter?
Mr. President, looking at the site plan, it appears that there's a valve station there that's within 40 feet of that area paving that they're putting in. Is that correct, or what we're looking at? That it's that close to that building?
There is a pipe valve station right there, yes, sir.
And in that respect, I can't support this because of its residents being that close to that valve station. I can't support it. The warehouse I have no issue with, but to put a resident with someone's that close to that valve station, that pipeline valve station, I can't support that myself. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Should we call them up?
Mr. Porche?
Question for the staff. Is there a parish ordinance that prohibits residents within certain distance from pipeline?
No, sir.
And does the pipeline company have any input there?
I'm not sure about the pipeline company, but there's no parish ordinance that prohibits that.
Okay.
The applicant, is the applicant here? The applicant may be here to answer
Okay.
some questions.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Charles Reeves. I live at 4840 East Shoal Creek Drive in Lake Charles, and I'm here speaking on behalf of the applicant, Jake Lynn LLC. As I was coming up, I heard some opposition to the living quarters based on the proximity to the valve station. And I know there was a question asked if there was any parish or fire ordinance that would prevent the location of this residence at that level, and I'm not aware of anything that we're not meeting. We had extensive discussions with Bayou Bridge before we did this, and they're on board with it. We're going to have a 4-hour wall on this building anyway, so I think that there's a lot of things that we've done to mitigate any potential damage, but we are in excess of 40 feet away from the actual pipe itself.
That was my question, if y'all had reached out to the pipeline. If they're cool with it, I'm cool with it.
Yeah, we had extensive discussions.
Sure.
with them.
Okay.
Good. That's all I had.
I appreciate you coming up in your comments. Thank
You
you
bet.
very much.
Any other questions for Mr. Reeves? Thank you, Mr. Reeves.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions for the staff outside of what we discussed so far? There being none, all those in favor, stay.
Might want to take a
Roll call vote, I'm sorry. Let's do a roll call vote, Christie.
Mr. Little,
Yes.
Mr. Porsche,
Yes.
Ms. Galicia. Yes. Mr. Dubrock,
Yes.
Ms. Cobb, Ms. Winey. Yes. Ms. Dickerson,
Yes.
Ms. Hyatt. Yes. Mr. Williams,
Yeah.
Mr. Vincent. Yes. 10 for.
Motion passes. Next item, take appropriate action on EX-0520-0079, a request by PBA Properties LLC et al. For an exception to allow a 3-year extension of an existing borrow pit at the northwest corner of Lincoln Road and Elliott Road in Ward 3. I will entertain a motion for approval with conditions. Motion by Coach, second by Ms. Cobb. Ms. Dunn?
This property is in the South Lake Charles area and encompasses over 100 acres of land. In 2016, the applicant received approval to excavate a 54-acre borrow pit. The approval was granted for a 3-year period following zoning approval. The time limit has expired, therefore the applicant is requesting an additional 3 years. Because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends the request be granted with the following conditions: that the development must be in accordance with Section 26-122-1H4 of the Parish Code of Ordinances, that a road damage bond in the amount determined by the parish engineer must be submitted to the Division of Engineering prior to issuance of a development permit, that the hauler's occupational license must be provided prior to permitting, and that a buffer yard required by a developer's agreement filed on April 2nd, 2012 be maintained during and after the excavation.
Thank you, Ms. Tunn. We have no blue card on this particular item. Is there any thing that the board may have questions for the staff regarding this item? There being none, all those in favor, state aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. Motion passes. Item 10, take appropriate action on EX-0520-0081, a request by Prairie Land Company for an exception to allow a 3-year extension of an existing borrow pit in the southeast corner of Elliott Road and West Tank Farm Road in Ward 3. I will entertain a motion for approval with conditions. Motion by Ms. Dickerson, second by Ms. Winey. Ms. Turner?
This property is also in the South Lake Charles area and encompasses approximately 240 acres of land. In 2016, the applicant received approval to excavate a 160-acre borrow pit. The approval was granted for a three-year period following zoning approval. The time limit has expired, therefore the applicant is requesting an additional 3 years. Because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends the request be granted with the following conditions: that the development must be in accordance with Section 26-122-1H4 of Parish Code of Ordinances, that a road damage bond in the amount determined by the parish engineer must be submitted to the Division of Engineering prior to issuance of a development permit, that the hauler's occupational license must be provided prior to permitting, and that a letter of no objection from Gravity Drainage District be provided prior to issuance of a development permit.
Thank you, Ms. Dunn. Does the board have any questions for the staff on this agenda item and/or the applicant? There are no blue cards provided. Therefore, all those in favor, state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, state no. Motion passes. The next item on the agenda is to advise that the police jury took the following action on May 21st, 2020, with reference to the recommendation of planning and zoning from the May 19th, 2020 meeting. James Simmons, River Road, planning and zoning recommended to deny, police jury overturned. Darrell Hebert, Tom Hebert Road, planning and zoning recommended approval, police jury approved. Raymond Crosby, Myrtle Springs, planning and zoning recommended approval, police jury approved. The next item on the agenda is to advise that the next regularly scheduled planning and zoning meeting will be held Tuesday, July 21st, 2020. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Ms. Cobb. Second by Mr. Dubrock. Meeting is adjourned.